Hi, I'm Vita Guerra, and I'm living the low life.
Today on Livin' the Low Life, it's the car club that many say started it all. The Dukes began with one family in Southern California. And now, with over 4 decades under its belt, the club is 35 chapters strong.
We need to get into the history here.
And they have one heck of a motto.
Dukes don't die, we just multiply.
In the world of lowriding, their plaque is a familiar sight, and it's been that way for decades. It's the oldest existing lowrider car club, and its members know why.
The Dukes represent one-of-a-kind classic club that's been around forever, and that's what took my interest, and I wanted to be part of that.
We're blessed to be part of this logo. We're Dukes from the heart. And as we say, the Dukes don't die, they just multiply. We're Dukes for life.
The Dukes have been creating amazing rides for nearly 50 years, and today they're going to show us what makes their car club so legendary.
And to get the whole story, we're going to one of the founders, celebrated lowrider and Hall of Fame member, Fernando Ruelas.
Tell me a little bit on how you guys started. When was the car club established?
Well, the car club was established around 1962, officially, family, all the brothers, and a few from the neighborhood here. Of course, we're in the neighborhood, 38th Street, so here's where it started.
And from 38th Street, the Dukes grew into one very large car club.
So how many chapters does the Dukes have?
We have 35 chapters. And we have chapters internationally, Japan, Australia, Sweden, and all through the United States.
Many car clubs went through turbulent changes during the Vietnam era. Some clubs folded. The Dukes restructured itself, and by the late 70s, they had a stronger set of rules and a new look to their name.
It took me a while to regroup and restructure a lot of the old membership. I had to come up with rules and regulations. And more so, I had to have them copyright the whole bit, so I didn't do that till around 77.
It wasn't always a logo that you see there today. It was a different logo.
It was a different one,
Yeah.
and when did it change to that logo?
Okay, well, it was this logo in 1962.
Okay.
And then I think in
Oh,
75.
this was then.
This
And
was
this
then,
is
this
now.
is now. There you go.
There you go.
And that's
It's
what
still
it
the
is.
same, but
It's still the same name, but just a different flavor on the look.
yeah.
Well, the depth of this story goes far beyond the evolution of a logo. It's a story of young kids who used what they had to create a positive future. The Dukes. It's that historic car club formed by the Ruelas brothers in 1962. And today, some claim that the founding family did more than simply create a club.
They say the Ruelas brothers started lowriding, so let's get the story from the source. So you guys are credited for starting lowriding, is that correct? Tell me a little bit.
I don't want to say yes on that because then I will be robbing from a lot of people that are into the same sport, and I think we need to give them credit as well. But I would like to say that we're one of the first pioneers. I don't want to get people...
I know, I feel you, and I totally understand.
Everything about the Dukes has a legend, even the way they got their name.
The name was selected from a book they were reading. They seen the Duke of Earl, and the Dukes popped up.
Okay, some parts of the story are quite simple, while other parts are steeped in a great deal of history.
We need
gotta
to
educate
get, we
me a
need to
little
get
bit.
into the history here.
It's not about when they started, but why.
When you become a Duke, the first thing you think of is, the history.
The birth of the club has roots in the LA gang culture of the 50s and 60s. Back then, Josefina Ruelas, a single mother of 5 boys, moved her family from Tijuana to the rough streets of South Central. Little did she know that her sons would need protection in their new neighborhood. For that, the boys affiliated themselves with the notorious 38th Street Gang, a group that dates back to the 1920s.
My uncles and my dad, started from the 38th Street Gang.
The 38th Street Gang was formed in Vernon, California. Once the Ruelas brothers were in, they knew they wanted something other than the future that was offered by the gang. The solution came by way of their cars.
You know what? We want to evolve from this and start a car club, something positive, and that's what they've done.
Back then, gangs made headlines, involved with incidents that caused friction between certain Mexican Americans and the city of LA.
Back in those days, when the gang rivalry was pretty strong around here, we just wanted to get away from that gang activity. We just didn't want to do that. We didn't find no fun doing that. We saw no future into violence. So our frustration, we took it out in cars.
The love for cars.
Sure, and fixing them up.
And they had a mentor. He was their Uncle Tinker, an automotive expert who influenced future generations.
So there's multiple generations in this car club?
Yes, there is. The structure of this car club started from my grandmother and my great uncle Tinker, which set the direction for the brothers.
But of course, their main direction came from the matriarch of this family, Josefina Ruelas.
¿Qué te parece de los hijos tuyos que están con los carros? ¿Qué te parece de...?
Muy bien, porque yo les di esta idea de que estaban chiquitos, que se ocuparan en algo, y nunca anduvieron en la calle de vago ni nada. Y siguieron con el club, toda hasta ahorita.
I remember many times my mother used to go out there, and she used to carry her gun, and she used to, hey, come on, let's go. And I remember the older guys, they wouldn't tell her nothing.
Back in those days, life was hard for newcomers to LA like the Ruelas family. But it was even harder to replace street life with a world of car building. Amazingly, once they did, the Ruelas family gained even more respect.
People respected us, believe it or not. We're well respected, and we can go places where no one in this world want to go. And that's how much we're respected.
We all went to school together. We played in the sandbox together.
My buddy?
Yeah. What was I gonna say?
In their neighborhood, the car world presented a break from the turf wars.
I think that we also help bridge people together. People that were kind of angry at each other. We were able to be the mediators to keep the peace. Because our area where we raced up, that was a neutral ground.
Growing up, the Ruelas brothers saw their share of turf that was anything but neutral. And when we return, we'll get the rest of that story and a whole lot more. Founded by the Ruelas family, the Duke's Car Club is a legendary organization that's seen a lot, thanks to its many decades on the scene and on the street.
So there's a lot of history right here.
There's a lot of history right here.
In the 1940s, kids in tough neighborhoods needed an alternative.
Going into the cars was probably a lifesaver for anybody that grew up in that neighborhood, because that 38th Street was a very dominant, known headquarters for drugs.
And that's not all it was known for. The unsolved murder of a man named Jose Diaz led to the famous Sleepy Lagoon murder trial. Many members of the 38th Street Gang were rounded up as suspects.
And there were the people from 38th Street that got arrested, and women as well.
Wow.
A lot of them that were the Black Widows from 38, which were females.
In 1944, every conviction was reversed on appeal. But before that, the case created a series of battles involving many Mexican Americans, LA law enforcement, and U.S. servicemen. The wartime Zoot Suit riots saw race wars between sailors and almost any Mexican American wearing stylish and attention-getting fashion. It was all a lot of commotion that men like Fernando wanted to avoid. He and his brothers weren't looking to jump into the fray.
We didn't want to do that. We wanted to do something positive.
And by doing something positive, Fernando and his brothers created the Dukes, now boasting many proud members and many classic cars.
You know, they're so old, but yet so beautiful, and I love it.
Many cars found in the Dukes carry a certain mystique.
It's got that gangster look to it, you know?
This is a car club, and it takes cars to keep it going.
My mom and dad kind of got married in a car like this when they were young.
Okay, it's time for Vita to check out some killer rides.
So this is Jake, and this is his beautiful car. Jake, tell me a little bit about your car. What year? What kind of car?
This is a 1942 Chevy Fleet Line Special Deluxe. Pretty rare because they were built during the war, and pretty rare to find now, especially in this condition.
Yeah, the interior looks great.
Fernando says that a lot of these cars represent something quite important, because back when the club started, there were many racial barriers that needed to be broken.
Pick me up.
And I can say that among a lot of the families, the Relas family was the first ones to go into white dominant car shows and win, because we had the cars.
They didn't just have the cars, they had the rare cars.
So Andy, tell me a little bit about your car.
Well, this is a 1951 Hudson Hornet.
It was love at first sight.
First sight, yeah.
Do you have a story about how we found this car? Was it hard to find?
You know, I went to a junkyard one time. We were in the junkyard in Sun Valley, and I happened to come across a car rare. I opened the door, and it's, what is it, a Hudson? So I got stuck with that.
Back in the early days, the Ruelas brothers turned damaged rides into drivable vehicles. Soon, they had more cars than the neighborhood dealership.
If some of these guys would wreck one of their cars, we would ask them, hey, what are you going to do with that car? You know, and they'll go, well, I'll sell it to you. How much? $15. We'll buy that car. Then the family will go right on and, you know, work on it. The following week, we were driving it, our family, and they were walking.
We all at one time owned 30, 40 cars. When you come to Latinos, raised up in a poor neighborhood and poor, it was kind of rare.
Us, you know, we were hustlers. The whole family was hustlers. We would call ourselves young hustlers.
And quite proudly, they're still hustling. But just wait until you see some of the amazing cars they're driving today. As an automotive organization, the Dukes doesn't just have a great history, it also has everything you'd want in a truly great car club.
No other car clubs have what the Dukes have as far as the name and the recognition of the Dukes.
What separates the Dukes from the other car clubs?
We always had a unique style of lowriding in cars, and we put that in the forefront. And of course, we had no idea of what the magnitude was going to be today, because we're car people. We love cars.
Everyone knows about the Dukes classic box, but it's not just American cars in this club.
Vita's right. If you look over here, you'll find a rare visitor.
1956 Jaguar XK140MC.
I think I want to ride on that one.
And the reason it's called XK140 because they wanted to produce a 140-mile-an-hour car in '56.
I wanted the Dukes to be a variation of all different type of cars, but with the lowrider blend on top. And you know, we're just kind of people that we just love cars, so we just like to do different things.
And the whole family gets a kick out of strangers asking, does he drive a Jaguar?
And a lot of people say, he does? And he looks at him, he's Latino. Yeah, he does. He does. Some of the rarest Jaguars.
This is called a 67 Mark 10, very luxury car. It's got dual gas tanks, big motor, power windows, air conditioning. It's got everything in the world and all that. This is a lot of car for his day and all that. And this is also a real fast car.
So what kind of car is this?
Oh, yes, this is a 1962 XKE. This is the very popular XKE that the predecessor, 1961, was the first 150-mile-an-hour car, okay? This is the very sexy automobile.
I took a lot of slack from other people when I started bringing the classics and the exotic cars into the Dukes. But you want to know something? That was the right thing to do. And now I get praise from everybody for doing it.
During the years, I was approached by too many younger generation. Well, listen, what does it take to become Dukes and this and that? So then I opened up chapters, and I made it availability for the younger crowd with different years of cars to come in.
There's no shortage of variety here with the Dukes, and to prove it, Vita has a chat with a member who rolls in with one highly original ride.
I'm here with Jason, Fernando's first son, right?
That's correct.
And I see you have your car here, so you're bringing a different flavor to the Dukes. Tell me about your car a little.
I got this El Camino here. I got old cars as well. Something here with these newer cars is a lot of the people that couldn't deal with old cars come to something a little newer. This is an 80s car, something more affordable, you know, guys maybe more my age or a little younger.
And speaking of younger, we can't forget that a great car club is all about the future.
We have our children and their children, and this is what it is. It's a family thing. It's passed on from generation to generation, and hopefully they'll keep the legacy going.
The Dukes is an organization that features a lot of classic rides, but there isn't one that's older than this beautiful 39 Chevy. It's a ride that means a lot to the family that first formed the club.
This is the oldest car existing in the car club since it was formed, you know, and when my dad was co-founded the club, and it's still in the club today.
And the car still displays a reminder of something historic for the club.
There's a little sticker in the window there, you know, my uncle, the first president of the car club, passed away over a year and a half ago. And that's the last time I drove this car, was to the funeral.
Yes, the Ruelas brothers created a club that for many is like no other in the world of lowriding.
Ruelas brothers are, you know, hard to find. People like that.
I want to say also, there's no distinction here in race, okay? We're all, when we're talking about the lowrider community and all that, we're all equal. We respect all our brothers, whether they're black, white, brown, Asian or whatever. Hey, we belong to only one race, and that's the human race.
It's a philosophy that sits well with every member of the club.
Well, it feels good because, you know, being part of the club, it's a family-run thing, and just, you know, enjoying the main thing, the hobby, car collecting, keeping the lowrider tradition going, and just doing what you like.
True enough, but it's not always fun and games when you're running a top car club. There are rules that must be followed.
We're serious, and this is a serious club. This is not a fly-by, do-what-you-want thing here. Going and acting disorderly, drunk, and we don't tolerate it whatsoever. And we do what we have to do to discipline them.
And if a chapter breaks the rules, well, that's a chapter Fernando will be shutting down.
This is a family club, and we have to secure their safety. Sometimes they say my rules are a little stiff, but been going on almost 50 years. I don't know, some's been going right.
Part of what's been right is the strength of their creed. It's the pledge of a lifetime.
So once you're Dukes for life?
You know, a lot of the membership feel that way. Once you're a Duke, you're always a Duke, and that's the way it is.
Yeah.
Definitely is a lifetime thing. You know, I wouldn't have it tattooed on me if it wasn't a lifetime thing.
I plan to expand this all over the world.
Make note of that goal, because when Fernando sets out to do something, no two ways about it, it gets done.
So are you a Dukes for life?
That's why we got the mark right here.
Yeah.
Dukes for life.
Always.
We don't die.
We don't die,
We
just multiply.
This is a 39 Chevy, Holden body 39 Chevy, one of 3 known in the world. Numbers are matching. Well, when it's done, to be honest with you, I'm gonna put it in the museum, and it's gonna represent the Dukes Car Club.
There you go.